We heard about Peace Relief at church one weekend, and right after that we went to a training, an information session on peace relief specifically, whether it was natural disasters or disasters in other countries, both at home and abroad, and then of course the refugee crisis. I do know that because of the ongoing civil war in Syria and with what's happened in Iraq as well with ISIS, there are just millions of refugees who've had to flee Syria, and then those in Iraq are fleeing north in Iraq and then eventually out of Iraq as well.
God had really given Carla a heart for the Middle East, and this opportunity came up for her to investigate a trip, and my 16-year-old daughter at the time was on fire. She needed to go. She wanted to go. And I certainly wanted to be supportive, but boy, that made me nervous. You know, they're going to the Middle East. I knew as much as perhaps any of us do about the Middle East, and it sounded like a scary place for the time.
And we always hear about God can just bring tremendous opportunity out of really tragic situations. And that is the number of Muslims who are coming to Christ, coming to know Jesus, because they've been forced out of Syria. We would first distribute supplies in the camps, and then we would split into two groups with translators and go to different families' tents and sit with them, hear their stories about how they got here, whether it was out of Syria or out of Iraq, and then we would pray with them, and we would do this over and over and over. After the first day, I think I was just a little bit in shock, because it's one thing to hear the stories in the news. It's quite another to sit face to face with someone who has been through that kind of experience, being forced to leave their homes or just fleeing for their lives. And I literally was just talking to God. In the mirror, I was like, God, I can't do this. I can't do this for 5 more days. And then I remembered everyone back home that was praying for us. So many people back home that were praying for us. And I'm telling you, I just immediately, this peace just came over me like I'd never experienced before. And I just knew I could do anything. I just knew I could do anything at that point.
First few trips Carla referenced for Peace Relief, we had worked with an organization over there, but the most recent one that I was able to accompany her on, we worked directly with churches in both Lebanon and Iraq, and I think that was really rewarding, because we were able to start to connect a lot of the folks that we were working with, whether they be refugees or other people in country, back to that local church. So I think that's a powerful message, and certainly something that I think we've learned at Saddleback is very, very important.
Our main purpose in going is to support the church there in any way that they need. If they need parenting, we provide parenting. If they're still asking for hope and healing with refugee women, we do a great deal of that. 2 days before we left, we were asked if we could teach anything on conflict resolution with children. So we very quickly tapped the resources that we had, and were able to present a program there involving conflict resolution with children, and it went over fabulously. But we'd never done so much ministry in such a short amount of time, and everyone on the team was able to contribute and prepare. That's what it's evolved into, and that's been amazing to see.
There are so many Christian communities and other communities around the world that feel abandoned. They feel isolated. They don't know anybody cares. And to be able to bring that message of hope and healing and prayer, and that our church and other churches around the world are praying for them and concerned for them, is a powerful message, one that I underestimated until I saw it in person. You know, one of the things that we were able to do in Erbil is visit with families, many of them that had recently arrived. In fact, we visited with families that we were the first visit in partnership with Mission Alliance Church in Erbil. And many of them had really had some difficult circumstances, as we found with refugees. And, in fact, I'd asked what was the hope for the future for a couple of families, and they literally said, well, we don't see we have any hope. And the one thing we were able to do is invite them to the local church. And that's one of the most important things we can do in peace relief, is to assist refugees and displaced persons, particularly other Christians, be able to connect them to that local church.
To see what God is doing on the ground, just the fruit that is coming out of tremendous tragedy, to be able to sit with someone and share in their story, and to see how their lives have been transformed. It doesn't matter where we see that transformation, whether we're at home or abroad. We've all been inspired by that at times, but specifically here, to see the Holy Spirit come alive is well, that's what keeps me going back.